All right. Well, it's 12:04. You guys were on time. We'll definitely have some people join us as we go along here. But there are a couple of announcements I want to make before we get way into it today. And that is, I want you to be able to share. Feel free to share, whether that's in the chat. So if you open the chat on Zoom, you can always join us via chat that way. And also, uh, you can feel free to take your speaker off mute and you can come on camera if you like. Feel free to share. So there are going to be opportunities after some of the exercises for you to be able to share. Happy to have you do so. That's how we learn together. So please feel free to do so. Now, a couple other announcements I want to make as well is this recording is going to be shared with you. So within the next couple days, next day or two, you will get a copy of the recording. So feel free to join us here today. Don't feel like you have to write everything down and that you have to, uh, scribble away furiously. There's a lot of good information that's shared, but we're going to provide you a recording and we're going to make that available to you. So with that recording, you're also going to get our resources. So you're going to get the habit tracker, you're going to get the true goals worksheet, as well as the true other parts of the true self system, including the Epic Daily Ritual Guide, a guide for high performers, so that you can operate at your maximum potential by creating a strong morning and evening ritual. And actually, we have a workshop called the Epic Daily Ritual, which we will be giving in 2 weeks. So if you haven't yet done that, by all means, and join us for that. So as we start here, let me just ask you a question. And this is one of those ones you can feel free to share in the chat, or you can also, just shout it out if you want. And what's one habit you wish you could stick to that would change your life? What's one habit that you wish you could stick to that would change your life? And I'll give you just 30 seconds. Just type it in the chat whenever you're ready, and think about that. What's one habit you wish you could stick to that would change your life? Yeah, those are great rolling in. All right, so we see some of those already coming. I love that. Bible study, daily faith and practice is a wonderful one. Cooking my meals instead of ordering out absolutely saves a ton of money. I just got lunch here at the restaurant that's at work here in the building, and I was thinking, gosh, I'm spending so much money, but I haven't been packing my lunch, which I had been doing. So definitely, we can all save money that way. Priority of mine as well. So thanks for pointing that out, Gerald. Getting up early, absolutely, Danielle. If you have not joined us for it before, Danielle, you should definitely join us for the Epic Daily Ritual Workshop, which we will do in 2 weeks. It is listed on the website at benparvey.com under workshops. You'll be able to see the Epic Daily Ritual Workshop there. Hopefully you can join us for that. Daily learning time. Absolutely, Chad. A wonderful practice. I don't know. I mean, I do have it actually in my habits of, reading and learning. I incorporate that, try to listen, to either an audible book or read something every day, but it's daily learning time. But, generally that's inspiration stuff. Learning comes in lots of different ways. There are also ways to learn, about ourselves personally and our personal development, also in our careers. Those things that help advance our life and advance our careers certainly are helpful as well. So I have daily financial discipline there. Sort of an ongoing stressor with 7 kids and meeting the demands of modern life. It's not easy. So instead of whining about financial challenges, I'd like to come up with some way to make some sort of daily financial discipline, meaning, whether that's a way of saving or, um, even like Gerald said, cooking meals instead of ordering out. I'd like to have something budgeted, or some way to have daily financial discipline. And maybe that's tracking it in an app or something. I mean, I certainly track, on the apps, et cetera, but I'd like to have some more financial discipline. And yeah, certainly the work lunches do add up. So I hear you. Thank you guys so much for providing some of those and getting engaged here. We all have things that we want to work on. I mean, even the most successful people are still always working on refining and improving themselves. So we're going to get into our Aligned Habits workshop in a minute, where we're going to work on setting our true purpose in life. And then we're going to create goals that help us achieve our purpose, to live as our true selves, and then implement the habits that are going to help us get there, the daily practices that are going to help us to live as our true selves. So, forgive me, the light keeps changing. There are motion sensors in the conference room I'm in right now, at work, and they turn off. So right now it may look a little dark. I will try to fix that in just a minute. But for right now, let's take just a moment to get grounded here. If you haven't been to one of our workshops before, this is the way that we start the workshop. And it is by being fully present here. We're just going to do this for a minute or two, and then we're going to get into some real substance that helps you live the life of your dreams. Before we do that, I want you to take a moment to be fully present here. And how do we do that? If you can, join me in closing your eyes or bringing your gaze down low. And I do teach meditation as well as yin yoga. It's a meditative form of yoga at Van Trapp Family Lodge and Resort in Stowe, Vermont. World famous Von Trapp family, the Sound of Music. Teaching that has really given me the opportunity to help people get grounded and to be fully present. So if you can, join me now in closing your eyes or bringing your gaze down low. And just for the next 2 minutes, we're just going to notice our breath. You want to be fully present. And, life offers us so many struggles and challenges, but generally they're in our minds. Not that they're not real and we don't have to deal with them, but we have the ability to let those impressions pass through us and not stay stuck in our thinking mind and not keep us from our goals. So if you can now, breathe in and out through your nose, breathing in fully, exhaling completely. For the next 2 minutes, just focusing on the breath. Thoughts will come and go as they always do, but you just want to let them pass like clouds passing through the sky. Staying focused on the breath, feeling the air coming in and out through your nose, perhaps the air passing over that little spot just between the bottom of your nose and the top of your lip. Maybe you want to choose to notice your chest expanding and contracting, or your belly rising and lowering. Our breath is always here for us. Always helping us to get grounded. We go through each day not noticing our breath coming in and going out, and not noticing our heart beating. And yet those two things are constantly happening, constantly active in our bodies, keeping us alive, giving us the opportunity for presence, the opportunity to just be here now. Take a few moments to just notice your breath. Now that you've noticed your breath, keeping your eyes closed or your gaze down low, let's take a few deep breaths, restoring our vital energy, clearing out some of the negative energy of past experiences, and breathing in the new energy of life, of love, of hope. So join me in taking a deep breath in through your nose and hold it, and then sigh it out. We're going to do two more of those. So deep breath in through your nose, take in little sips of air, as much air as you can, deep down into your lungs, and hold it, and sigh it out. Last one. Deep breath, deep breath in through your nose. Take in little sips of air as much as you can, deep down into your belly. Keep breathing in, and hold it, and let it all go. All right, begin to flutter your eyes a little bit, being fully present here now. And now that we are fully present, we've calmed our bodies. Don't spend time today for the next, hour and 15 minutes, hour and a half or so. Don't spend this time on the phone. Don't spend it jumping back and forth to emails and text messages and social media and LinkedIn feeds. Just take this amount of time together to be able to live as your true self, to be able to live the life of your dreams. So now that we're grounded here, we want to get really into it. If you've struggled to stay consistent, you're not falling short in life. You've just been trying to force a version of success that wasn't aligned with who you truly are. And today we're going to reset that. And we're going to rebuild from your true self, the person that you are meant to be. So I want to explain to you the workshop overview, what we're going to cover. We're going to cover four primary areas. First, why most goals fail. And if you're saying, hey, I was here about habits, well, you can't have habits if you don't know what you're working towards or why you're implementing those. So we are going to talk about goals first. So first, we're going to talk about why most goals fail. Second, how to set the right goals. Third, how to build habits that support you in achieving those goals. And lastly, how to get back up when life throws you off track. How to build resilience and to stay on course in achieving your habit or in implementing your habits and achieving your goals. You got to have a desire for this change, though, in life. Napoleon Hill said, desire is the starting point of all achievement. Not a hope, not a wish, but a keen, pulsating desire which transcends everything. So if you have a desire to make this your best year ever and move past all that's held you back from living in complete happiness and bliss, which is your natural state, then we're going to turn that desire into action. We're going to mold that burning desire for love, happiness, and success into real action you can take today to live the life of your dreams. We're going to do this by aligning your dreams with your habits. So how do I know this works? Because I've done it over the last 7 years. It took me a ton of time and trial and error to get to a point where my goals and my daily habits are aligned so that I can live the life of my dreams every single day. And with 7 kids ranging from 4 to 17 and running 2 businesses, I have to be focused and disciplined to ensure that we can all live happily and live productive lives. So I'm going to save you the years worth of learning and mistakes to become who you are meant to be, to live the life of your dreams now. So if that sounds good, go ahead, come on, join me, and we're going to get going. And don't worry, this isn't that hard. It just requires a system that works for you. So we're going to align your dreams with your habits. So first, as I mentioned, the first thing we're going to discuss today is why most goals fail. So last year we taught an inspiring 8-week course called Thrive in 25. And we did that to kick the year off right by implementing uh, our big goals. We worked on identifying our true self, setting big goals that help us to become our true selves, live life on purpose, and then the habits that help us achieve those. Now, at the start of that course, I shared a statistic. It was just a post that I'd seen on LinkedIn, and I then went and verified the truth or veracity of this post. So I'm not just repeating something I saw on LinkedIn as fact, but what we saw, as you see there, is that less than 9% of adults achieve one New Year's goal, meaning 91% of adults who set goals reach zero of them. And that's of the people who actually set goals. So that number is actually even much lower. So some of the common reasons that goals don't stick is first, an unclear vision. Second, external pressure or distractions. Third, an unrealistic pace. And lastly, a lack of identity alignment, meaning your goals are not aligned with your true self. Now, there's a great quote by Robert Brault that says, "We're kept by our goal. We're kept from our goal, not by obstacles, but by a clear path to a lesser goal." We're always taking detours and getting off the highway to our dreams, not because it's too hard or too far, but because we're distracted by what is right in front of us. For example, these folks right here saw a sign that said, "Great view over here," but yet their goal was to get to the summit. So unlike these folks, other folks continued on to the summit and they got to the peak where the view is much better. You don't want to get distracted on your path. What I mean by this is, an example is, does scrolling through the news or social media get you to your goal faster? No, it fills your brain with negative inputs of others, wastes your time, and takes your mind off of what matters most. Our addictions to the phone, alcohol, drugs, and the negative news stream keep us distracted from our goals. The distractions take us from what matters most, from our dreams and from our loved ones. Blaise Pascal, who was a famous French inventor and mathematician, said distraction is the only thing that consoles us from our miseries, and yet it is itself the greatest of our miseries. Meaning distraction is the greatest of our miseries. And next week, we found that this is such a dramatic part of what keeps us from our goals that after doing this workshop, the Aligned Habits workshop, we started a new workshop called Focused and Free, Break the Distraction Cycle. And that's going to be next week, next Thursday. So join us for that. We talk deeply there about distraction and not being distracted from our goals and our mission in life. So even if you're not that distracted by all the modern distractions in life, which most of us are, many of us are kept from our goals by that clear path to a lesser goal. Meaning we jump into things that seem quick and easy to accomplish, but they've distracted us from our big goal. But misaligned goals, or goals that aren't aligned with your true self, create confusion, anxiety, and burnout. Misaligned goals create burnout. This is why so many seemingly successful people are not happy. They may be achieving professional and work success, but they're just accomplishing small daily tasks. They're unhappy because they're not aligning their daily habits with their big goals. And that creates confusion and leads to burnout. So you go one way when your true self knows that you need to go another way. And it creates anxiety and confusion. But clarity brings confidence. Clarity and alignment with your true self. Clarity brings confidence, and confidence is contagious. Another reason goals fail, even if they are clear, is that the clear goal is not aligned with your true self. We all have a small voice within us that speaks to us about wanting an amazing life, nudges us to our professional and personal dreams and aspirations, and clamors for love, happiness, and success. But I want you to give a megaphone to that still small voice within, not let it be so small anymore. Let it be the primary voice that's driving you. This is your true self and your higher power directing you where to go. When you listen to your inner voice, you are aligned and living on purpose. When you are clear on your goals and they are aligned with your true self, you can live the life of your dreams. This alignment brings excitement and it also brings confidence to your everyday as you move towards your big goals. Now, we've talked about why goals fail. So next, obviously, we're going to get into how to make successful goals. But before we do that, I want you to pull out your pen and piece of paper or your journal if you brought it to write on. And I want you to think of a goal that you set in the past but didn't reach. And which of these do you think got in the way? Now, you can obviously have your own. These are just some of the primary reasons goals fail. But maybe an unclear vision, distractions, or external pressure. An unrealistic pace, meaning you set a goal and you say, I'm going to do this in a year, but you couldn't possibly do it in 1 year, but maybe you could in 2. Unrealistic pace, which may lead to burnout as well. And a lack of an alignment. So take just a moment and consider this. Think of goals you set in the past but didn't reach. Which of these do you think got in the way, or what do you really think got in the way? And I'll give you just a moment to think about that and then put the answers, if you want to, in the chat there. All right, so, take a few more seconds and, work on that. Whatever you think, makes sense to you. You can, discuss any of those goals you might have set but didn't reach. For me, it's really, I can go into some of these goals. They've generally been more business. I mean, on the personal level, I mean, I think I've handled a lot of the things that I've been working towards. Obviously, like I mentioned earlier, financial discipline, coming up with better financial habits certainly is something that I can do and I am working on. But part of that, a big part of that is, being an entrepreneur and running businesses where cash flow is not consistent. I think where I failed, or those goals didn't work out, was that I had set an unrealistic pace to reach some really big goals, which is great, but also that those goals didn't necessarily align with my true self. So, it didn't necessarily feel right, and I didn't make the progress that I had hoped to, which is not surprising. If it's not, if your goals aren't, completely aligned with your true self, then it's going to be a little bit harder to achieve those goals. So that was for me. I mean, I see Danielle, you've got distractions and an unclear vision. Uh, and distractions can also be external pressures. Some of the things that we have to handle in life, and we need to, have those in mind. But distractions oftentimes take us there, as well as unclear vision. We may set a big goal, but it's not necessarily clear. We don't necessarily have the vision in place that's going to help us to get there. Um, Chad also had distractions and an unclear vision. Bob, distractions. Most of us very much are distracted. It's tough to really stay on task. And the great thing is about, those of you that put those there is that we're going to go through a number of things today that can help you eliminate those distractions. And then next week, you can join us for Focused and Free, and we will talk more about breaking the distraction cycle. So, it's good to see that, not good to see that the distractions kept you from the goal, but it is good to see that, a number of us are working on that, and we do have some additional resources for you. Gerald, you have unclear vision and a lack of alignment. So hopefully today we can help you become a little bit more clear on that vision and, align that vision with your true self and your purpose. So we're going to get into that now. And in this next part, we're going to talk about aligning your goals with your true self so that this is the way forward. Now we're going to talk about setting expansive goals, meaning ones that excite you, and then aligning your goals with your true self, which sets you up for success and allows you to implement habits and stick to habits because they are aligned with your true self. Now, it's good to have good habits. You certainly want to have good habits, but the question then becomes, are those good habits aligned with your goals, your dreams, and your true self? I mean, we could all come up with, dozens and dozens of good habits that we want to do, but we're not going to end up doing those habits and making them, daily or weekly routine or ritual if they aren't aligned with our true selves. So you need to set goals. You need to have habits that help you implement those goals. Those goals need to be aligned with your true self. So if you want clarity in life and a real opportunity for success, and I'm not talking financial success. I mean, I'm talking personal, professional, spiritual. See, it's dark again. I'm wondering if there's some way I can wave my hands and make these lights go on in here. They keep shutting off in this conference room I'm in, if you're just joining us. So it's a little frustrating, but let's see if that helps. No, it's just a crazy guy waving his arms. All right. Anyway, you need to set goals, but you need to make those goals really big. Think about where you want to be in 10 years or in 20 years. And don't worry about where you are right now. It doesn't really matter if you're 30 or 50 or 70 or 90. There's no end to what you can achieve at any stage in life. But you have to think bigger. What is your big inspired goal? And I know that you may be saying, hey, we're here to talk about habits. Why are we talking about these big long-term goals? Just so that we can be clear on where we're going. The habits create that step-by-step that get you to where you're going. But first, you need to know where you're going. What seems absolutely outrageous to others, but in your heart of hearts is what you need to do. This is your North Star. It's the direction you need to head. Are you the same person you are today that you were 10 years ago? Ask yourself that. No, most likely you're not. But yet we set goals and plans as though we will be ourselves, but just a little older. But that's not the case. You'll be a totally different person in 10 years. I mean, I look at where I was 10 years ago. I'm 51 now, where I was at 41. I have dramatically transformed my life. I mean, I have 7 kids now, 10 years ago, I had two. So I've had five more kids. Um, and how incredibly life has changed in 10 years. But even apart from, my family, I personally have changed and become a far more spiritual person. I have improved my health dramatically. But if I were to look at my goal setting 10 years ago, I might have envisioned changes on the margins that would get me better and make me improve. But I did not envision being a completely different person. There's a concept called prospection, which is the ability to mentally represent and evaluate possible future scenarios. It's a fundamental psychological skill that includes planning and imagining future scenarios. So when we envision the future, a lot of times, we limit ourselves to what we know now. But our goal today is to see that there are no limits to who you can be in the future. We want to open up our minds to think without limits. You don't want to just plan and think based on the experience you have so far. Those experiences that you have create, energy within your body that called samskara that stick with you, some positive, some negative, but they stay within your body. Those past memories and reflections, instances, things that went well, things that didn't go well. And it frames how we plan. But if you think without limits, you can plan the life that you want. And we're going to talk in a minute about how to see your future. I've had a lot of different challenges through life. And, more recently, I've been dealing with, a lot of other challenges that have helped shape who I am. I mean, as a young lawyer, through in law school, actually, and then as a young lawyer, I worked so hard and was pulling all-nighters on the regular and was trying to be all things to all people, leading all organizations, et cetera. I got multiple sclerosis where I couldn't lift my left foot. I couldn't write with or type with my right hand, which is kind of essential in that field. And then a year later, I lost vision in one eye, and then a year later, the other eye due to lesions on my optic nerves. Now, our body is miraculous, though, and heals itself when we care for it properly. And I've now gone almost 20 years without another flare-up because I realized that it was lack of sleep and stress that was harming my body. I wasn't listening to that still small voice inside that told me to slow down. Now, I slowed down a little bit, but, as a lawyer and then as a young parent, I wasn't listening to that still small voice inside. I was just running in circles, hoping that things would get better. For years, I saw sad eyes looking back at me in the mirror, wondering why I hadn't hit my potential. I knew that I wasn't living as my true self. Now, in the summer of 2018, I had a complete awakening. I decided I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. I decided to work on improving myself and start listening and growing again. I've done intense study on personal growth and aligning our goals with our habits. And this now 8-year journey has been extraordinary and brought me to a place of deep personal alignment with my true self and led to substantial, personal, professional, and spiritual growth. And once I saw the light in the mirror, it dawned on me. I am meant to inspire others. That is what my true self is meant to do. That is what that still small voice inside had been telling me for decades, even as a kid. I knew that was the case, which is why living as a lawyer and then clean energy entrepreneur wasn't living as my true self. I wasn't making enough impact every day. The fact of the matter is, writing books and inspiring you is my true calling. What is your true calling? Inspiring others to live the life of their dreams. is my true calling. And through a lot of reflection and personal work, I've realized that. What is your true calling? It has to be big and meaningful to you. It can't just be a goal that moves you a little bit in life. It needs to be something that stirs your soul. In the immortal words of Nelson Mandela, who lived fully through struggle and triumph, there is no passion in playing small, in settling for a life that is less than the one you are capable of living. I want you to live the life of your dreams, which you can do today by living as your true self. You can't live the extraordinary life of your dreams by playing small, by just going through the motions. Don't go through the motions at work. Make your motions work. We're here to set big goals and then create a clear path to achieve those goals, followed by the habits that will make your future come to life. That's how you're going to thrive in 2026 and beyond. Be bold and be specific. Be bold and be specific. But we got to have focus. As famous business strategist and author of the book Good to Great, Jim Collins said, if you have more than 3 priorities, you have none. If you have more than 3 priorities, you have none. We're going to set no more than 3 big goals. Everyone is so scattered trying to do everything well that we give everything only partial attention. So if you want to thrive in 2026 and achieve big goals, you have to limit your focus and say no to a lot more. The most successful people in the world are not successful by what they say yes to. They're successful because of what they say no to. The true self system that we created is going to help you refine your goals and then set daily habits that will help make achieving those goals inevitable. So here's what I do. First, I envision a future version of myself, 10 years in the future, who is happier, kinder, and wiser than I am now. I don't necessarily set out what that vision is. I just intend to meet my future self through a envisioning or meditation. And I meditate on that person and imagine spending time with them. I ask them questions. I see what my life is like. I ask what he's achieved. I notice how he's dressed. I ask for his wisdom. And then afterwards, I do another practice, which is I write a letter from my future self to myself now, to my current self. And I've done this a couple times, and what I found is it's usually filled with grace, encouragement, and pride. All those struggles that I go through, my future self sees with gratitude, because all those challenges, all those struggles are helping get me to who I'm meant to be. After doing that, I then imagine, meaning after I write the letter to myself now from my future self, I then imagine meeting myself again, but only in 3 years, on my way to that big future. I choose 3 years out because it's far enough for substantial change to occur, but not so far that you can't clearly imagine it. It's this year and then the next 2 years after it. After I've done this, I then fill out my true goals worksheet according to that vision, which breaks those goals down from big ideas to tiny steps that you can accomplish every day, your habits. Now, what I have in that true goals worksheet, where I have my big long-term goals, the annual goals that are going to help me get there, the 3-year goals that are going to help me get there, I then break it down into annual, monthly, and quarterly goals that all align. So we're going to share that true goals worksheet with you. And when you get the recap, I mentioned earlier at the start, you're going to get that. And I take that, I put my goal sheet with my annual, quarterly, and monthly goals right next to my desk. And I also carry a copy of it in my backpack with my laptop. That way, I can regularly refer to my goals and make sure I'm on track. And I update them monthly. I update them monthly and quarterly. You want to make your goals big and simple. You want to take away, all the distractions, all the nonsense that wastes your days. And there's a ton of it in this world now. There's too much nonsense that takes our focus. You want to get rid of the distractions and focus in on your goals. You want to get ready to climb higher than you ever have before because it's your time to thrive. Now, I want to take you through this. And we're going to spend a few moments. I'm going to give you, maybe almost 5 minutes to imagine your life in 10 years from now. 2036. Seems like a long time from now, doesn't it? 2036. I want you to do like we did earlier. Close your eyes, take some deep breaths, start breathing calmly, quietly through your nose, relax your body, scan your body, feel where there's any tension, and release that tension. And then I want you to close your eyes. Breathe deeply. And imagine meeting yourself 10 years in the future. For me, that would be meeting Ben at 61 in 2036. Envision meeting yourself. Close your eyes. Envision meeting yourself 10 years from now. Fully alive, successful, peaceful. Remember, clarity brings confidence, and confidence is contagious. Envision clearly meeting your future self. Go to your happy place, to your power place, wherever you feel the most as your true self, the most aligned, the most inspired. Maybe it's the beach, maybe it's the mountains, maybe it's your backyard, maybe it's someplace you've gone on vacation, maybe it's someplace that you accomplished something great, personally, professionally, or spiritually. Imagine meeting your future self 10 years from now. How does that person appear? What wisdom do they have to share with you? Ask them questions, close your eyes, and go within and meet your future self. begin to bring some presence back. Now that you've spent some time with your future self, envisioning your life in 10 years and hopefully meeting your future self and getting some wisdom from your future self, I now invite you to take your journal or your piece of paper and your pen, pick it up and write down what your future self showed you. What are up to 3 big goals that align with your true self? Now, what did your future self show you? How did your future self appear? Journal for a moment. Take a few moments to envision what your life is like in 10 years. Write it down. What did your future self tell you, show you? How did your future self appear? How did your future self, dress, act, carry themselves? What is it that your future self does? How does your future self spend his or her days? What did your future self show you? As soon as you write that down, journal on that for just 1 or 2 minutes, and then write down 3 big goals that align with your future self. And I'll give you just a moment to look at that. Maybe 2 minutes, 3 minutes right here to journal about meeting your future self. And then what are 3 big goals, 3 big long-term goals? Don't worry about the time right now, just 3 long-term goals that align with your true self. If you want to start taking just a few more seconds to write down some of those, and keep in mind, you can always come back to these, and I definitely encourage you to continue to do these exercises, long after today's workshop. I want you to truly take some time, do the meditation fully. I want you to also, as I said, envision yourself 3 years from now. So we did 10 years from now, and then journaling with a letter from yourself in 10 years. But I want you to really do that and take some time. If you want to, by all means, anyone can share. If you'd like to share those goals that you have written down and would like any feedback on those, put those in there. If you want to email them to me at ben@benparvey.com and discuss those at all, feel free to reach out to me that way as well. Just know that that version of you that you just met, confident, calm, clear, they're not that far away. But they do live on the other side of clarity and aligned habits. And the truth is, you don't just think your way into becoming your future self. You have to experience your way into it. That's exactly why your habits are so important. They're how you make sure you're living as your true self each and every day. becoming your true self and living your life on purpose can take years or even decades. Sadly, most people never even get there. Aligned habits shape your identity over time, which is why we created the Rooted and Reignited retreat. Through this immersive experience, each day for 4 days, you will be immersed in actions that help you make a habit of living as your true self so that you can live as your true self in just 4 days instead of taking a lifetime, or sadly, maybe even not at all. And we're going to talk about it more at the end, but just know it's real and it's very soon. And now we want to talk about building habits that reinforce your true self. This is where we get into turning that big vision into the daily habits that turn your vision of your true self into repeatable, grounded action. Your habits, which are your daily practice of becoming your true self. So, there are all kinds of different things we can point to, but when I began the regular practice of meditating and journaling 7 years ago, it felt difficult and awkward at first. And I don't know why it felt awkward. I guess maybe I was worried my wife or kids might walk in while I was, in the lotus position, eyes closed, and think, hey, what is this goofball doing? Now they probably still say that, but I've been doing it for years, so they're used to seeing me. But I stuck with it, and it became natural and heartfelt and habitual. And now it's a part of my daily habit. And habits, both good and bad, are hard to break. And heaven knows, I've had my bad habits, like smoking or using weed or staying up too late. But it's a lot easier to break bad habits when you have good habits and positive reinforcement to replace them. In the words of Aristotle, we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. Positive habits are the key to making your dreams and goals real. To get into a routine of positive habits, it's worthwhile to track your habits. There's a saying by Peter Drucker, who is a famed management theorist, who said, you can't improve what you don't measure. So we want to measure and track those things that you want to improve. Don't wait for the future to happen. You want to start being the person you're meant to be, that person you envisioned, by measuring the habits and measuring your course in getting there. So it doesn't have to be profound or difficult. Make it simple. So we created this habitually inspired habit tracker, which is simply a way of tracking up to 10 daily habits. So here are the habits I'm currently working on each day. And I will say, this is from August of last year, from us doing the Aligned Habits workshop. I've since updated these, and I will update it sometime, monthly or maybe once a quarter, based on what I'm working on at that point. But here's what I was tracking then: is sleep by 10, wake by 5, meditate, journal, hour of flow on top priority. I've actually increased that to 90 minutes of flow each day on my top priority, preferably before noon. Read a spiritual book, read the Tao Te Ching, 30, 60 minutes of quality content, exercise or yoga, and PM journal. And in our Epic Daily Ritual workshop, which is going to be 2 weeks from now, I go into all those a lot more in greater detail if you're interested. But the purpose is you want to do what works for you. What I have here doesn't have to be at all what you want to do. But if you look at the bottom of the Aligned Habits workshop, at the Habitually Inspired Habit Tracker, I also have my goals written down there. So the goals at the bottom, you want to have those make habits that align with those goals. So you just want to write down habits that you want to work on, practice regularly, or improve that will help you hit your personal, professional, and spiritual goals. Those things that maybe improve your mind or your body or your spirit. Maybe you want to track progress on a work goal or a fitness goal or a financial goal. I lost over 30 pounds from tracking my intermittent fasting. For now, let's just focus on what you want to improve and start tracking it. Try to make those habits that will help you achieve your 3 big goals. The habit tracker is just a great way to do it on paper or digitally. So I do want to make the note, if you're tracking it digitally or on a phone or anything, try not to look at your phone for the first hour of the day and the last hour of the night. And we talk about that in the, again, the Epic Daily Ritual workshop. But the habit tracker is a great way to do this. And, I've been tracking daily habits now for 6 years. Again, that Aristotle quote, we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence is not an act, but a habit. We are what we repeatedly do. You become the person that you were meant to be when you practice daily becoming that person. Now, like I said, it changes slightly from quarter to quarter. Like, when I was working on my book, The Light in the Mirror is You, which is going to be coming out in a few months. When I was working on that, I changed, meditate and journal, which I used to do from 5:30 to 7, to write from 5:30 to 7 as my first activity of the day. When there are no distractions, my brain is in the right state. Now, I love meditating and journaling then, but I wrote my book in 6 months because I set that habit and I did it daily, uh, where I used to meditate and journal. That habit helped me hit that goal. I did it, meaning writing my book. I did it every day and I tracked it. I made that commitment to myself and I hit my goal. Now, do I get to every single habit every single day? Sadly, no. Life gets in the way. Like I said, with 7 kids, life gets in the way quite a lot. And I miss one or two or more of the habits. But on the days when I'm at my best, I hit them all. And those days become more frequent the longer I track my habits. I make time for them. I make sure I do these like my life depended on it. And my future self does depend on it. I can't reach my goals if I'm not doing these habits. And as I go along, I have more days where I'm at my best and I hit them all more often. Again, that Peter Drucker quote, that which is being measured is improving. You can't improve, he said, you can't improve what you don't measure. My life's improving because I'm measuring, I'm tracking. You want to track what works best for you. I mean, this is just instructive and what works for me. That future version of yourself. What does that person do each day that you're not doing now? See what you need to do to hit those goals and become that person and make those areas your daily habits. You journaled about or wrote about this vision of yourself in 10 years that you had. What does that person do each day that you aren't doing now? Pick those things and be that person by practicing each day. You practice to become your future self, and soon you start to become that person. You don't just hope that someday I'm going to get there. You just start doing it. You start living like that person that you want to be. My life is improving each day because I'm tracking that which matters most to me. And I'm holding myself accountable by tracking it. I'm living as my true self. You want to start living like, dressing like, being like that person that you envision. It's you. It's you, but it's a little bit different. It's the person you are meant to be without all the noise and all the distractions. It's the person who you see at the center of your mind's eye. It's the person you've dreamt about being, maybe recently, maybe your whole life. You will start to become that person when you practice becoming that person. So the question is, who do you want to become? And are you fired up to become that person? It's not just a distant dream. You want to get motivated to become that person. But you got to implement the habits to become that person. Great quote by Jim Rohn. It says this a little bit more artfully than I can. Jim Rohn said, motivation is what gets you started. Habit is what keeps you going. Habit is what keeps you going. So, motivation is what gets you started. Habit is what keeps you going. A lot of people get motivated and then lose steam. We do a little series that I posted some on Instagram. It says it's most Googled advice. One of the most Googled questions is, how do I, stay motivated? Motivation is an initial burst of energy, but creating habits will help you maintain that energy. Remember at the beginning of today's workshop, I talked about that figure. 91% of people who set goals don't achieve any of them. It's because they didn't put the habits in place to help them achieve those goals. So we're here now to live aligned, to set big goals that energize us for the future. But this time, we're going to accomplish those goals because we're going to put habits in place that make achieving those goals inevitable. So pull out that journal again or your piece of paper and write down, what are 5 to 10 habits that will help you achieve the big goals that you wrote earlier? Remember, after you, and if you haven't done it, you can go ahead and do it. But I said, after that meditation, what are, 3 big goals that align with that that person you envisioned, yourself in 10 years? So take a moment. What are 5 to 10 habits that you can put in place that will help you achieve those big goals to become that person that you're meant to be? Or the habits don't necessarily have to relate to the goals, but they have to help make you the type of person that will achieve those goals, or the type of person that can achieve those goals. So take a couple minutes to do that. If you want to write down some of the habits, feel free to share. I'd love to see them. Take maybe 3 minutes here and write down habits that will help you achieve your big goals or become the person that you are meant to be. Take just another 30 seconds or so here. If you want to list your habits, in the chat, feel free to. Like I said before, if you want to email me at ben@benparvey.com to run any of those by me or ask for support, by all means, please do so. Just another 30 seconds or so. All right. Everyone still having fun? Working on your habits? Ready to get those big goals started with your habits and filling in your habit tracker. Uh, Thanks, Chad. Appreciate that. Just want to make sure everyone's energy is still up there. These are some, it takes a lot of energy to go through these. It can be exhausting going through this, but also very invigorating going through these exercises. So I want you to be excited. Maybe stretch your arms a little bit. We're in the home stretch now. And want to talk now about overcoming setbacks and building resilience. We've talked about envisioning your true self, living your life on purpose, being who you're meant to be. And then we talked about setting goals that align with that vision for your true self. And then we moved from, purpose to goals to habits. The habits that will help you hit those goals, that will help you live as your true self. Now we want to talk about what to do when life knocks you off so that nothing will stop you. Because we all know that the challenges come up. When you set aligned goals and build the habits to match, you're not just chasing results. You are actually becoming someone new. The problem is that we saw in that statistic of 91% of people who set goals not achieving one of them. The problem is people get dissuaded and discouraged when life knocks us off course, and it always does. I'm banging on the table because I'm in the middle of one of those challenging periods where any day I could say, oh my God, this is all so unbearable. I've been totally knocked off. But I have my goals and my habits focused, locked, and loaded, and I am not getting dissuaded on my journey. I am not going to let these challenges that have come up. It's been one of the toughest 18 months of our lives. From, about a year and a half ago, not even a year and a half, year and maybe 4 or 5 months ago, my wife and I losing a baby that was a little bit far along, and a little bit into the second trimester, and we had just told our kids, and they were so excited, particularly my now 9-year-old. Then he was, I guess, 7, almost 8. He was so sad and couldn't quite wrap his head around it. It's like right after that, my wife ruptured her Achilles and had surgery, and my goals were thrown way off because I was caring for her and for all our kids. And business challenges and moving our family to a new state. We moved to Vermont, which we thought would be great. We haven't sold our house yet, back outside of Philadelphia, which hopefully, knock on wood, say your prayers for me. We're supposed to be getting a contract on today. To my oldest son, having a seizure while operating a vehicle. He was fine, but incredibly scary. They're still working on diagnosis, et cetera. But it's been one of those periods of time, and life goes like that. Life goes in seasons and cycles. And it's also just at the time that I've set these big goals. I have this book ready to get published. I have these workshops coming out. We have a new retreat coming out. I mean, I have all this exciting stuff going on and big goals and big plans that I've made, but yet these challenges keep coming at me. But when you take a risk and you listen to your inner voice and you pursue a path, it's not about how quickly you get to the end goal. There will always be twists and turns. It's not about the destination, but about who you become in the process of trying to get there. When you set big, audacious goals, even if you fall short, you end up much further ahead than you were before. You get much further in life than if you hadn't tried at all. Even if you fail at something, it's not going to kill you. I mean, unless, your big goal is to climb Mount Everest, you fail at that. I mean, that might kill you. But for most things that we pursue in life, sorry, I shouldn't make light of that. But for most things we pursue in life, if you fall short or if you fail, it's okay. You end up further along. There's nothing to lose. It's not going to kill you. You've got to try. You have to push forward. We've tried to make it as easy as possible by creating a system for you and supporting you every step of the way. Look, tracking your habits isn't a test. You're not competing against others. You're keeping track so that you can improve. Some weeks won't be as strong as others. Yet, if you want to live in bliss, then keep tracking your habits and keep improving. It's not always perfect, but the more you work at it and trust your true self as your guide to becoming your future self, the more you stick to your healthy habits and come back to your true self, no matter how busy you are and what negative impacts happen in your life. You're never too busy or distracted to take 2 seconds to look into a mirror, lock eyes with yourself, and say, I love you. You got to keep going, even when you don't feel it. In fact, when you don't feel it is the perfect time to reset. It's a reboot. When your computer isn't working properly, you reboot. When things aren't going well and you're off your game, reboot yourself. You do this by going back to your goals and your habits. And then you begin again. Like I said, in the last 18 months, I've gotten knocked off over and over and over and over and over again. And I'm grateful for every one of those challenges. I'm grateful for every one of those challenges because I know they're getting me closer to my goals. That is your reboot. To begin again, to get back to your goals, get back to your habit tracker. It brings you back to your true self because you set that big vision for yourself. You then create the goals and the habits that are going to help get you there. You get back up by getting back to your habit tracker. You get back to your goals. You just, maybe one day it's not going to be all 10 goals. Maybe it's just going to be 1 or 2, but you get back. It brings you back to accelerating towards your big goals. Your habits keep you going and help you get back to that true self, to who you're meant to be. So when a challenge, a tragedy, or even just a bad day knocks you off track, get back to tracking your habits and find your alignment with yourself again. Take a few or many deep breaths, as we did when we grounded at the beginning of today's workshop. Don't let the pain stick with you. Let it pass through you. Track your habits, set your big goals for your life, and then do everything you can each day to help you get to those goals by tracking your habits so you can live habitually inspired. You know, inspired means in spirit. The derivative comes from the word in spirit. We talked about listening to that still small voice inside, or listening to your higher power. You live in spirit by identifying your true self, listening to that voice, identifying your true self, and then setting goals to be the person you are meant to be. And then you create the daily actions that keep you from the distractions. Daily actions that keep you from your distractions, your habits. Your habits are your daily actions that keep you from your distractions. So now we're getting ready to close. But before they do that, I want you to make a commitment to yourself and to others here, but mainly just to yourself. What is one small action you'll take in the next 24 hours to move toward your true self? What's one small action you will take in the next 24 hours to move toward your true self? For me, it's going to be to update my habit tracker. You know, I have it from April. I haven't yet updated for May, and I need to do that. I need to get back on track. You know, I mean, I follow the habits. I've done a lot of these for many years, but what's one small action that you'll take in the next 24 hours to move towards your true self? So now that you've set that, it's really time to start the climb. Maybe you envision it like, climbing on to the launch pad to skyrocket into space. Angela's going to create her big three goals. Get that done. And Angela, by all means, if you or anyone else on wants to email me at ben@benparvey.com and get any feedback on those, do so. Gerald's going to find some recipes to make/bring to work and schedule a day to do cooking for the week. Yeah, Gerald, other people before have said, meal prepping for the week. I identified with that. I think on our Inspiration Nation community happy hour, which I invite all of you to join us on Friday, just go to the website, benparvey.com. When you click on resources, go to happy hour or community happy hour. Come, tomorrow at noon. But on happy hour a few weeks ago, someone was talking about food prepping for the week. Absolutely. When we do that in our family, it's so much easier. Sometimes we get kind of behind, but it's a way of saving money and also creating a ton of efficiency in time. So that's great, Gerald. I'm glad for you that you'll be doing that. Anyone else, feel free to share your commitments. So we'll come back to those. But it's now time to climb aboard, that space shuttle on the launch pad. Because that voyage only begins, though, with the decision to climb aboard and soar to your destination. Because staring at the stars is inspiring, but it's not going to make you an astronaut. You get what I mean by that? Setting your goals is great, but it's not going to happen until you start implementing the habits that are going to get you there. It's painful not being who you're meant to be. It's painful wishing you could get to be that person that you see in your mind and you feel in your heart, but it seems like it's either impossible or it's taking forever to get there. But it doesn't have to be painful. These are choices. This is your life to choose. So you can either continue to go through the motions at work, or you can make your motions work. You can stay in the harbor and stare at the sea, or you can cross the ocean. You can stay in the same painful job, or you can create the career you want. You can stare at the phone, or you can play with your kids. You can busy yourself on social media or make real progress on your goals. Don't look at other people's stuff, create your own. You can sing the song you're meant to sing, or you can keep it bottled inside. These are all choices, and some are tough choices, but they're yours and yours alone to make. I love this quote by Elizabeth Appel about becoming who you're meant to be. She said, "And the day came when the risk to remain tight in a bud was more painful than the risk it took to blossom." Your life is only created by you. And we all create our own reality by our mindset and the choices we make. You can choose to live a life of happiness and bliss by deciding to do so, but staying tight in your bud is far more painful than the risk it will take for you to blossom and live the life of your dreams. At any stage in life, this holds true. It's never too late to be who you are meant to be. Be honest with yourself. Are you living the life you're meant to live? Are you achieving the one thing that inspires you the most? If not, it's your time to blossom. It's time for you to live life inspired. You're capable of living an extraordinary life. Make it big. Do not play small. Do not settle. You know what you're capable of. You just need to get it out of your head, down on paper, and then take action every single morning to get you closer to who you're capable of being. But it can't be small. You won't take any action if you have a small goal because it doesn't matter that much. As Les Brown put it, most people fail in life not because they aim too high and miss, but because they aim too low and hit. Don't aim for those low targets accomplished by small, menial tasks. Sending that next email isn't getting to your big goal. Aim high. You're meant to live an extraordinary life. If you invest in yourself and start what was recommended today, you will find true freedom and happiness. So you can make excuses or you can awake with intention. Look in the mirror, say, I love you, and then implement the steps prescribed today to return to your true self and be the person you are meant to be. Now, it's not all just inspiring. The journey isn't always smooth, and roadblocks always pop up unexpectedly. That's what I was saying. I've had the last year and a half or so of all kinds of unexpected things come up. But the tools provided today help make the journey smoother and get you around the roadblocks faster. Those that love you will be there for you. I love you and am here to help guide you on your journey. I'm always happy to help. As I've said a few times today, I'm happy to help guide you up the mountain as you climb to meet your true self. As your feet hit the floor tomorrow morning, simply say to yourself, it's going to be an amazing day. Walk into the bathroom, lock eyes with yourself, and say, I love you in the mirror. And then go spread that light out into the world. The world needs you to shine brightly now more than ever. As you awake with intention, put down the phone, the weapon of mass distraction. Turn off the negative news and just listen to your still small voice inside. Listen to yourself and your higher power, and then write down what you hear, but don't wait. Turn what you wrote down into action you can take today to live the life of your dreams, to be the person you are meant to be, to live your life of love, happiness, and bliss. I want to thank you for making the time to be here for yourself today. I appreciate the commitments you have made. I have observed some of those coming in as we were going along. Make sure to start reading and set time for learning each day. Rupa, get up early and read. Obviously, go to bed early. Yes, absolutely, Bob. And those are things in the Epic Daily Ritual. Chad, set time blocks for dedicated learning. Absolutely. So, you have a little bit of homework. I want you to imagine your future self. I want you to take, we only did it for, 5 minutes or so. I want you to take at least 15 minutes or more to spend time with yourself 10 years in the future and journal about it. Journal about meeting your future self. And I want you to do that exercise we discussed of writing a letter from your future self to the person, from your future self, the you 10 years from now. Write it from your future self to your current self, and then keep it and refer back to it regularly. I have, I have mine sitting on my desk at home. This is your true self telling you where you're headed and what direction to go to. So, what you learned today is a solid foundation for living as your true self, but truly living focused and free takes practice and consistency, which is exactly why we created the Rooted and Reignited Retreat. It's going to be this summer, this summer, September 10th through 13th, right after Labor Day, but before the craziness of the fall and the holidays ensues. It's going to be at the world famous Von Trapp Family Lodge and Resort in Stowe, Vermont. Think Sound of Music, like I mentioned, the Trapp Family Lodge. Absolutely amazing place. These things that we discussed here today are going to be in an immersive setting so that you can step away from all the chaos and live as your true self, become rooted in your true self, and be reignited to start the fall off right. It's a great way to do that. We're excited to launch that. We just launched it this week. If you want to schedule time with me to discuss this in greater depth and what all this will involve, it is truly transformative and will change the course of your life. So if you have questions about it, please reach out to me. I think we put the link in the website there. Go check it out and hope you can join us for that. It's going to be absolutely transformative experience. So hope you can join us for that. I know a few people joined a little bit later today. We do have the recording from this workshop is going to be made available and sent to you via email. So if you registered, you will receive that. We do have, we went through our homework. I do want to say, if you would like to follow us on social media, by all means do so. We will have some more information about the retreat, about our upcoming workshops. I'm also posting, new inspiring content there. So love for you to follow us there. Go to Instagram, the YouTube channel. We post a lot of these workshops. If you're not able to join us live, by all means, go there. Tomorrow, another announcement. Join us for our Inspiration Nation Community Happy Hour. That is at noon tomorrow. Hope you can be there. It is a really great way to close the week strong. We celebrate our wins for the week, and then we, with some reflection, and then we set our intention for the next week. We're going to be very clear on what we're going to do for the next week so that we're able to go into the weekend with calm, confidence, and clarity. Give our nervous system a reset to be able to go into the weekend, clear, excited, and we do some fun stuff together. We have some icebreakers, we have some reflection. So join us tomorrow at noon. We will hopefully see you there. Like I said before, you can always email me at ben@benparvey.com. Happy to answer any questions for you. We are growing, rapidly growing, almost 10,000 strong in the Inspiration Nation community. So excited to have you join us. Tonda, I appreciate that. Thank you for joining. Bless you. Appreciate you being here. If anyone has any questions, email me. If you want to schedule time with me to review the retreat, if you go on that retreat website that's there, you can always schedule time with me. Gerald, thank you, brother. Great for you, have you here. Good to see you. And hopefully we'll see everyone at happy hour tomorrow. Reach out if you need anything. My blessings to all of you. Remember, you are made of the same stuff as stars and are meant to shine. Danielle, I really appreciate it. Thank you for coming to this workshop. And I'm glad you came across it too. Love growing our community, love welcoming new people in each week to our workshops, and hope to see all of you tomorrow at the happy hour. Be well. Bless you.